Right. So we shall get started. Right. So we shall get started, I suppose. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Dissonant Waves, episode 3. We're covering 3 albums this time. We've got Of Montreal's Lousy with Sylvenbriar, The Jungle Giants, Quiet Ferocity, and Smash Mouth's Fushu Mang. Got Tricks and Riddle in here.
Hiccup. But yeah,
All right.
Smash Mouth's first album. Yeah, I just had a hiccup.
How are you doing, Riddlin?
I'm doing well. Just got straight out of the shower, so I'm fresh and ready for this.
Squeaky clean.
Squeaky
Excellent.
clean, man.
Squeaky clean.
Made sure
Unlike
to
all
clean
the
behind the
artists-
ears, so my mum is proud.
Unlike all the artists on this episode. Who would like to go first? My vote is for Tricks.
So I guess we can start talking about Smash.
Smash
Old
Mouth,
Smash
baby.
Mouth.
All right. Well, the album I chose for this to talk about this week is Smash Mouth's debut album, Fushu Mang. I'm still not entirely sure on the pronunciation. It's taken from one of Al Pacino's, where he's saying "fuck you, man" through blood.
It could be like as like a fashion or something like that. Like, it's probably a really
Fushu
tough
Mang.
because my friend has a username called Obara Shrimpy, which is apparently what happens in Google if you do the text to speech really fast of saying "oh baby" a triple.
Fair enough. Well, what made you choose
That is-
Smash Mouth? Tell us.
Well, I guess I kind of just chose their album a little bit because it's a good album. Like, I first started listening to the album because I'm like, I should listen to Smash Mouth just for the meme. And then I'm like, oh, why is there an explicit tag on their first album? Oh shit, this is actually really fucking good.
The way you pitched it to us is you said that something happened with Smash Mouth, that something might have ruined it.
Shrek ruined Smash Mouth's career.
I still stand by that baseball presentations did much worse to All Star than Shrek ever did.
I just like that All Star was for a different movie entirely, and then Shrek co-opted it.
Yeah, it was originally for Rat Race.
It was originally for Mystery Men.
I thought it was for Rat Race.
Music video has the Mystery Men actors in it doing their stuff.
Explain that, atheists.
But
Well,
yeah, I thought it was a pretty good album.
I mean, yeah, I surprisingly enjoyed it, actually. For a fucking Smash Mouth album. I mean, obviously, you go into that, you have the meme of Smash Mouth. That you can't just deny that. It's existed
totally
since... It's existed since fucking Shrek has come out, is the whole meme of All-Star.
Oh yeah.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah. So, you can't deny that it's there. You're going into it. All you can think of is just all the funny parts of Smash Mouth. Like, the one that I can never stop forgetting is the I'm a Believer, which literally has all the Shrek promo in that music video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It turns out they're a prolific cover band because their first cover is on this album too.
Yeah, with Wars, Why Can't We Be Friends, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was really surprised at how good that song was in particular. Like a ska version of Why Can't We Be Friends?
Oh yeah.
Actually sounds amazing.
It does.
Something that actually kind of reminded me of is of Sublime's 40 Ounces of Freedom, where they have the song We're Only Gonna Die for Our Arrogance, which is a cover of Bad Religion's We're Only Gonna Die. And that was the Sublime one. Like, when you listen to it, you kind of have to really notice the lyrics to kind of realize that it's a cover.
Yeah.
Because it sounds so different. And in the Smash Mouth one, that wasn't really the same thing, though. Like, you could tell it was a cover straight away.
Yeah.
It's a totally different kind of song than the usual stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely done in a unique Smash Mouth way. Which, like, that's fucking brilliant for covers. That's what I'd love to see out of a cover.
It's like, I'm a Believer is almost as much of a meme as like All Star.
Yeah, I'm a Believer. It's just a complete meme.
It
Yes.
also has that kind of Smash Mouth charm where it's their thing and they did it for that song, and it works. It works.
I mean, the Monkees were the ones who played that song, mistaken, and they were kind of like because they were all actors before they started performing, mistaken.
And that's true. Absolutely true. It's also funny that their other
So it's a
big
meme
single,
band recording a meme song.
I still really like it. But
Yeah.
the surprising thing is that their other big single on this album, well, Nervous in the Alley was played on the radio first, I guess. But Walking on the Sun is their other big single. And that's like also really different from the rest of the album.
Oh yeah, that song is
Yeah.
dark as fuck.
Walking on the Sun is obviously it's been a definite highlight for people who follow Smash Mouth. But it's
Oh yeah.
even if you don't really know Smash Mouth, it's always been considered their other song ever since All Star got that hit from Strack and everything. But that was going into this album. The only thing I knew was Walking on the Sun. So a lot of the sounds that you hear on this album are a complete just shock.
Yeah, like they are a legit ska band. Like you can compare them to
Yeah.
Goldfinger or whatever, and they fit right in.
Yeah, like it was surprising when I first played this, expecting like Shrek meme music, and I'm like, oh shit, this is an edgy ska band.
It's like when you first listen to Mac DeMarco and you think you're going to get stoner music, but instead you get funky SpongeBob music.
Pretty much exactly.
Like Flow is a really good opener. It's just a really
Oh.
great song, and then it's stellar
It's
how this opens
upbeat.
the album.
Yeah. Again, with the a bit more adult subject matter than what they are normally tied with.
You want to explain it?
Yeah, well, it's about the singer Steve, I think, has a girl, and it's obvious that she's still attached to the guy she broke up with like the lines, Florence, if you hear this song, come and take your girlfriend back. She's been calling out your name every time we're in the sack.
Isn't that I would think Florence is a girl's name though, usually.
Well, it could be.
You don't see Florence as sorry, I missaid that. Florence is a guy. Yeah, I've never heard Florence as a guy.
It's possible it could be just F.
Yeah.
Lawrence, but I assumed it was about like like a bisexual girl or something.
It could be too.
As we all know, LGBTs don't actually exist. There's nobody in this chat that could possibly be in there.
No.
Ah. Maybe I'm just reading into it, my biased attitude. I don't know, but that's what I heard.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, they're rocking it right
mean,
out with some representation there.
Yeah.
As we all do know that Smash Mouth are the leaders of LGBT equality.
Oh yeah, they were super proud. Like
Very trans
I love
friendly.
that the Twitter just openly bans transphobes.
It's unique for sure. I feel like. I mean, it shouldn't be, but they're really outspoken about it.
They are. It's super heartwarming.
It's like then you think about that, and you think about beer goggles, and it's like, okay, I guess. Different times.
Yeah. Just the dude trying to get laid.
Call me, please. I don't care, anybody.
There's a band that I don't think that this is a band that I'll ever actually bring up on this podcast, despite loving the shit out of them. Is Australian hip hop group called Hilltop Hoods, and if you listen to like a lot of their early stuff, and I guess it really shows the kind of evolution and kind of changing with the times. A lot of these early stuff, while they've never really been homophobic, they've had lyrics in which you could probably consider that a tiny bit. Like they would have lines about can't get these assholes open in a gay bar and stuff like that. Which I still love these lines, but and then you look at a lot of their Twitter and stuff today, and they're some of the most progressive hip hop people that you'll probably see in Australia.
How times can change like entire acts
Yeah.
just by just existing within it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should probably get actually into the album now before we start going
That's
into
what I've been trying to do this whole time.
2 hour political rant, boys. Let's go.
Let's go.
Politics.
I thought it was funny that Disconnect the Dots is a song. It's also an Montreal song that has no relation. And we're also talking about Montreal, so that's a cool connection, I guess. That's my show and tell today. Thank you.
Thanks for coming to your TED Talk.
I was just about to say that.
Well, you didn't.
God damn it.
Yeah, like overall, it's
like,
a pretty solid album. Like, there's not a lot of low points.
No, like the only low point I can think of is Push.
I would probably go to Fonz actually as a low point.
I would agree with that. I didn't like the Fonz as much.
Yeah, it's
not for everybody. I like
I think you have a couple songs on there that don't really fit with the flow, like Walking on the Sun and the Fonz. But the big difference is that Walking on the Sun is so quality.
Yeah.
It's like it's okay because it's so good.
Yeah.
I should have pointed out to you guys to listen to the deluxe version just for one song, and it's Sorry About Your Penis.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't listen to it.
I didn't listen to the extras.
Hilarious. Yeah, it's just about like dudes with lifted trucks.
They're pretty self-aware, which is cool because they called themselves as a very masculine group. I mean, Steve Harwell is pretty like Guy Fieri, like, you know.
Yeah, he's definitely got a gruffer voice.
Which is really unique, especially in like the ska scene. I feel like because I mean, ska is kind of a punk subgenre almost, but also Steve Harwell is not the kind of person you'd expect to be very good at singing, but they find a way to make the music work for his voice.
Exactly. And that's why I think the acoustic version of the album fell flat.
See, there's a lot of songs in here that I just don't even know how you could really do acoustically. I mean, a lot of the fun of the song comes out from the energy that they bring to it. And when you go with a lot of acoustic tracks, they do tone down that energy just never really fits with it. I've seen a couple bands that have gone really acoustic and still for some reason brought out that energy, and it's been kind of fun. A big one was when Alex is on Fire did a cover of the Saints' I'm Stranded. And it's like this really slow acoustic tune, and you have this guy still screaming his lungs out throughout the whole song.
That's fun.
Yeah. But I feel like that's fun to listen to for one song. You could not do that for a whole album, and I know they don't do that on the acoustic one. But again, with a lot of the fun comes from the energy.
Yeah, it's a fun party band.
I would argue that Aeroplane Over the Sea is made up of a lot of fun acoustic.
That's an entirely different.
Yeah, it's
an entirely different.
Fun
You're in the wrong ballpark here, Dominic.
Yeah.
That's my Neutral Milk Hotel quota for this episode.
We've still got 2 other episodes to cover, I think, with that. So,
yeah, I'm looking at the list of tracks. I think Padrino is a really interesting song to put on here because of the Spanish influence. But it's like an Italian mob, stereotypical song kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wrote that it was like Italians by way of John Patrick Shanley. That you've seen Moonstruck, you kind of understand.
Yep. And again, there's Nervous in the Alley, which is about a girl whose parents die. She's forced to live on the street doing porn, selling her body to be able to pay for drugs.
It's just like, well,
It's amazing that Smash Mouth can find their niche. You know, you could say they're selling out, but are they really when they have an audience who likes All Star and I'm a Believer and all that? I'm sure that's helped them a lot.
I mean, you're right.
It's good that we have these other songs that are there that show that they can do other stuff. You know, it's I think a problem with a lot of bands who aim to go family friendly right away, or a lot of brands who do that. It's very hard to see what else they can do. Like this is again a different ballpark, but I think for me a problem with Disney a lot of the time is that Disney is not willing to go across the scale. You know, they like their niche and that's it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I respect the guy who played Pee Wee Herman, because he did some raunchy comedy before going right into.
Like Bob Saget too.
Yeah,
I think it was Dr. Seuss who did a shit.
He
wrote pornography, I believe.
Yeah, he wrote pornography, like the 7 Naked Ladies.
Dr. Seuss was also like a Nazi sympathizer for a while or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he also broke up with his wife to live with his mistress, and his wife killed herself.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss wasn't that good of a person. All the places you'll go when you're hooked on blow. Thank you.
You know, I don't know all that for a fact, but that's what I've heard. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Well, I've read the note.
Right.
I wrote the note.
Oh shit.
That's gonna be the next Smash Mouth song. It's about how I wrote the note.
Are you the person who just like looks up fucked up shit on the internet for fun?
No, I just kind of stumbled upon it.
It gets posted on Reddit like once every fucking week.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Smash Mouth. Fush man.
Again, another problem though that comes like with bringing these types of albums. This is one that we had with the last episode. I think a bit of a time. Oh, this is definitely a great album. Is there really that much to talk about though? Other than it's got ska and some of the lyrics are pretty fucking great.
I guess not. It's.
Well,
like,
I
think
I just kind of want to talk. I kind of want to talk about just how like white privilege walking on the sun is.
Fun. Talk about it.
Because if you go on like the Genius site, they were talking about like the behind the lyrics, and one of the lines, I think it was Steve said it, and it was like, I just wanted to bring people back to the 60s where it was like peace and love, and there's no such thing as like racism and stuff like that. And I sent that line to my buddy Jeremy, who's black, and he just sent me like a string of fucking laughing emojis. Let me see if I can find it.
From what I heard of the song, I mean, I listened to it enough. I didn't read the lyrics, but my understanding was that it was kind of a deconstruction of like that hippie time, that like the 60s.
It's embracing it.
Interesting, because that was not the thing I got at all. When I listened to that song, I made a note that it was
while disguised as a meaningless radio-friendly tune, it actually sought to channel the vibes of the 60s and 70s for a 90s populace that was growing increasingly uptight.
It's really funny to me because I took away that it had like the same viewpoint as like Fight Club, because Fight Club is at some level about like the way that the 60s generation, like the flower power children, like kind of sold their identity to become like the businessmen of the 80s and the 90s, and kind of backed away from that self-identifier entirely and became kind of the soulless corporate people. And I kind of felt like this was kind of a satire in the same vein of like, you know, it's the 60s, but it's not all great, and it's kind of, you know, pointing at that kind of stuff. That was what I took away from it. I guess I'm totally wrong.
Yeah, I got bored at work one day. Just checked the Genius on. Yeah, Harwell explained in Rolling Stone that there's so much hatred and racism, it never used to be like that in the 60s.
You know,
Can we just appreciate how like white privilege aligned that is?
Look, technically he's right, but that's mostly just because they weren't taking in any, black people's opinions around that time.
he must have been like 3 in the 60s or something, so you don't know racism when you're 3, usually.
Good thing racism doesn't exist these days.
You're right, boys.
Right. We did it, right?
Talk to the CEO of racism.
I'm looking at those lyrics that you've just posted in the Discord.
Yeah,
25
never
years
mind.
ago,
Smash Mouth is a meme band again. Thank you.
25 years ago, they spoke out and they broke out of recession and oppression, and together they toked and folked out with guitars around a bonfire, just singing and clapping. Man, what the hell happened? That reads to me like, yo, this generation fucking changed and became those soulless corporate assholes.
I think you're reading way too much into the meme.
Maybe because I don't know, because the chorus says that, you know, don't delay the like that TV ad kind of thing.
Yeah, that was like kind of shunning that.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of all connected there. Like this is a generation that kind of started that. I don't know.
That didn't really start until the 90s, I want to say.
And who would be in power at that point? Probably, you know, 30, 40 something year old CEOs who were from that generation. You know,
The lesson that I get from this album is that the 60s, nothing bad happened. Thank you.
What was Australia like in the 60s?
I still think at that time, I think around that time, women didn't really have much rights. Aboriginals probably still weren't even in the census. And
were you still fighting a war with emus?
No, that was 1930. That was during the Great Depression.
I know, I'm just being an ass.
No, I love the emu.
It's fucking hilarious.
Fucking hilarious.
You emulate that
We
war
might have
again?
been losing a war of cane toads, but that might have been earlier.
Why don't you just pit the emus against the cane toads?
We had enough trouble killing emus. You think we can actually fucking go to them and pick them up?
Why don't we just pit the Asian koi or Asian carp against, I don't know, coyotes or something?
Yeah, no, Australia in the 60s was not that good. People don't actually kind of realize how behind our politics actually are. Like
you went super progressive in like the past few years. So.
No, not in the past few years. No, we're progressive when we had Hawkeye in back in the 90s. No, we haven't. We've been incredibly conservative the past 10 years. Past 20, sorry. We still haven't legalized abortion in this state. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah. We're currently making that illegal.
Yeah, it's currently on its way out here.
Oh, no. We're in the process of decriminalizing, and then we're going to make it illegal again. But that's a different story. The only difference between us and America that makes us seem more progressive is that we have gun control.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We still don't recognize the Armenian genocide. Interesting fact.
We do either.
Yeah, we don't learn about it in school.
We should. I did learn about it in school because I actually took a class on genocide. But I was going to say we should listen to System of a Down at some point now.
Yeah, I'll recommend. Like completely unrelated point to what to these albums and everything. System of a Down's Toxicity is such a fucking good album.
Yes,
I honestly haven't listened to any System of.
We'll put it on the rotation in a few episodes or something. But we're not talking about Smash Mouth anymore, so maybe we should move on.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Again, there's not really much else to talk about. So, favorites, least favorites.
Favorites: Flo, Walking on the Sun, Why Can't We Be Friends? Least favorite: The Fonz.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my favorites as Walking on the Sun. Definitely Why Can't We Be Friends? I think even though it's a cover, it's a fucking good cover.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I'm actually gonna put one of my favorites as Disconnected Dots.
That's a great one.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that one. Yeah, but definitely those favorite. Yeah, the Fonz.
Favorite for me, Heave Ho is up there. I actually quite like the Fonz. I love the bass in it. This whole album has just a bass all over it. Definitely a big fan of why.
Sorry.
What was that? Quite clear?
I was going to say something I want to make clear real quick is that I think all three of these albums are really good. They're really stellar overall.
They are.
So it's not like, for me, the last two episodes where there's kind of a hierarchy to them. It's going to be hard for me to choose a favorite.
Same here.
The lesson is fuck Devin Townsend.
Off.
I'm sorry if
He's
you're
not in
listening,
any of-
Devin. I still love you. We can be
He's
friends,
not in any
man.
of these. He's not in
We can
any
be
of these
friends.
bands this week, I don't think.
Sorry, Trix, what were your least favorites now?
Least favorite is Push. And probably Padrino.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
Which one should we move on to now?
what of Montreal.
Yeah, let's go with Montreal.
All right.
Lousy with Sylvenbriar. I think it's like their 13th studio album. Came out in like
Thanks,
2015. Kevin Barnes is a real interesting musician. He is of Montreal. Of Montreal can be any number of things at any time. It could be a solo act. It could be a giant group of people. It could be a 4-piece band. It doesn't really matter. He'll just put out music whenever he
So it's
wants
like
to.
Brendan Urie.
This one, Lousy with
how
Sylvenbriar. What was it?
I was just gonna say it's like how Brendan Urie is Panic at the Disco.
It's
Except Kevin Barnes is better.
So with this one, this was the first album that I got into after I started. Like, this was the first one that came out when I started getting into them. This is after his glam rock period, where he had a fictional Ziggy Stardust character named Georgie Fruit, I believe, who was, if I remember correctly, a black transgender person who went through multiple sex changes. Kevin Barnes has had a very interesting history with gender identity, sexual expression, kind of flitting across the spectrum in many different ways. A lot of that comes through in the music, especially during the Hissing Fauna, False Priest period. But this was kind of a change in a new direction. And really, any of Montreal album is a change in sound, but this one especially. Because you're going from like experimental, like glam rock pop to like lo-fi country, and for me is one of the best country albums I've ever heard.
Janelle Monáe
No.
is in a of Montreal song.
She's in the False Priest album. She's really good in it.
Yeah,
That's where I
Enemy
discovered
Gene.
Janelle Monáe in the first place, actually.
Ah,
Lousy with
Right.
Sylvenbriar is also special because, unlike False Priest, who has like features like Janelle Monáe and Solange, Kevin was hyping up Rebecca Cash at this time, and she had appeared on the last album, which was like a B-side collection called Daughter of Cloud. And Rebecca Cash is a great singer, but after this album, she kind of disappeared. And Kevin Barnes subsequently got a divorce. So it's kind of thought of by the community that maybe something had happened, though we don't know exactly what that might have been. But if you look at
Now, I
all
could
like
be
the
wrong
promotion,
as well. Wasn't there someone who helped on an of Montreal album, or maybe even a couple, who also helped with Homestar Runner?
possible. I don't know everyone who helped out.
I am
There's been
now
a lot of
going to
people.
search this up because I'm pretty sure.
Like there's like I said, it could be 10 people, it could be just him. But
Yep, James' husband.
yeah, isn't there like a husband and wife team or something?
Well, his actual name is James Huggins, or
Maybe I'm
something like
thinking of
that.
something else.
And
But,
he has helped with of Montreal. And I don't know if James Huggins actually worked on a Homestar Runner, but he was definitely he was close with Matt Chapman and everything around the time that Homestar Runner was being created. So it's probably a good chance.
if you look at all the promotional videos and all the appearances they did, usually just Kevin and other people on like radio stations or NPR's Tiny Desk series, Rebecca Cash is there. They're doing their thing. And, she kind of disappeared. And so there's this album that's kind of left in the wake of that. And it's really interesting and unique in the whole discography. I've talked a lot about it. Why don't you guys tell me what you think?
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I don't know what I was expecting coming into this. Not having listened to a full of Montreal album before, only of Montreal song that I had actually heard before this was like Groenlandic edit. That's how uncultured I am.
I hadn't heard any of them.
I should point out real quick that Of Montreal comes from the same Elephant Six collective as Neutral Milk Hotel. So Kevin Barnes and Jeff Mangum have a lot of similarities, I would say, in their lyricism. Where Jeff is more into his emotions, Kevin's more into his words or intelligentsia.
So yeah, again, I guess it's a problem when I only listen to an album after a week, is that I don't always have so much time to listen to these lyrics or study them, especially when I'm full-time working.
Yeah.
Same here.
So a lot of the enjoyment that I get comes quite sonically.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of moments in which I can hear the words and I can sing along to it. Mostly just She Ain't Speaking Now.
I'm trying to find really the album. I'm bad with song titles.
I was reading The Genius for Raindrop on My Skull, and it was funny because I guess Kevin had heard from his daughter the Teardrop on My Guitar from Taylor Swift. He didn't know it was a Taylor Swift song. He was suspicious that she had a good lyric like that, so he looked it up because he was going to use it himself. Oh, that's a Taylor Swift lyric. I'm going to change it and use it.
That's illegal.
It's inspiration. He made it his own.
I know. But I like that this is an album in which you can definitely tell the difference between each song, but whilst it's still having a really consistent sound the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those ones where you listen to, like, a lot of bands do have this, especially when they are quite, genre changing between albums, in which you can hear a song randomly and you can kind of tell what album it's from. And this is an album that feels like that.
It's an album I feel like. Go on, Trix.
I didn't say anything.
I said big plus, and that's it.
I was gonna say that it's an album where almost every song on it is it fits and it sounds really good. I would say there's very few low points, at least for me. The only one that I even notice is kind of different is Imbecile Rages. Everything else really fits together really well. Even when it's a little bit different, like Colossus.
I will. Yeah, I'm looking at those lyrics right now, and it opens up. Yeah, it's like your mother hung herself in the National Theater when she was 4 months pregnant with her sister. Who would have been 13 years old today. Does that make you feel any less alone?
Colossus has some really great lines.
I think I'm going to buy this album right now.
I do wish, like, personally myself, I had a lot more time I would have had a lot more time to actually give this the full listen.
Yeah, I'm buying it on vinyl.
Like the next verse after that one is, your dad, I'm sure he tried his best. He thought you'd be better off living with your grandmother. He didn't realize she had already given up. Baby, your family, they are just losers. That is some like fucking takedown right there.
Oh yeah.
Like the way he's able to control his melodies and like input pretty much anything he wants into his songs and make it fit is really interesting. Because even lyrics like, remember the exquisite corpse that we created together? We left at the time and seemed so impenetrable. That's a lot of syllables and a lot of stuff going on there. It'd be very hard to make that into like a listenable tune, but he does it.
Definitely. And I just bought Of Montreal on vinyl.
Ooh.
Live on set, boys.
Live.
He's given out his credit card information unwillingly.
Yes, it's my credit card number is 1 2 3 4 7 7.
I hope you got that.
Thank you.
So the cover
That's all.
art, is that ugly or is it interesting?
It's interesting.
I feel like it could go either way.
I always really like weird I looked at his other album art, and I gotta
His
say,
brother
this
does the
is, like,
designs for most of them, yeah.
it's the least weird of all of them. It's the most approachable.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if it's truly an art in which I can associate the sound with, and I'm not sure if it's a sound that an art that I can't see the sound associating with. It's weird. I don't know if it really fits or not, but maybe that's the point. I don't fucking know. I'm not that pretentious. I hope. Maybe I
I'm
am.
probably the
I'm
most
talking to
pretentious one here.
myself. I like if I take the art away from the album, I think it's actually quite beautiful. Because
Yeah,
looking at you can see all the colors, they shine in exactly the right spots. You know, you have that green sky, which is, it's odd, it's out there, and that's really the only odd thing about it. But it's also not the center of attention.
and don't forget the pink trees.
Yeah.
There's something that rings a little bit gaudy about it to me, but it still looks really interesting. And the way the words are in there are kind of weaved in is really nice too.
Plus, it has a lens flare on it.
As two.
Ooh.
I will say though, it's like I've always really enjoyed alien landscapes. It's sort of like the same pleasure centers in my brain, I guess the words would be.
Yeah. So one thing I want to ask is this country, do you think? Is this like a country record, or is this just like pop doing country?
I consider this like a pop folk somewhat. There's a bit of a psychedelic sound to it, but it's not.
At some point, I think he's using a guitar with a B bender on it, which I could be wrong, or I could just be confusing Quiet Ferocity.
What is that?
But it's it's like a lever on. It's hard. It's a lever that raises the string up a pitch, a full note, basically. I'm gonna pop a video of Brad Paisley G bender.
For Fugitive Air, he was talking about how he had to go buy a slide guitar and figure out how to play it, so he could do a demo of it.
And that might be it. He might be playing on a pedal steel. But let me see the Brad Paisley G bender, which I'm not the biggest country fan, but goddamn, can Brad Paisley shred?
And any particular tracks anyone wants to talk about or dive into?
I'm trying to find the one that has the lyric.
Again, I unfortunately feel like I know it's the sin of this. I feel like I had to listen to it a lot more to really be able to talk about it, because there is unfortunately a lot of sounds that were kind of coming and going to me as I was listening, but I don't think that's because of the album. I think it's just because I just haven't had enough proper time to actually fully listen to this one.
I felt that way about Last Dinosaurs and that kind of stuff, so I get it totally.
Yeah, I would say there's the two songs that have probably definitely stuck out to me is Fugitive Air and She Ain't Speaking Now. Again, there's not too much that I can really talk about, but those are definitely ones that I could actually kind of remember a little.
Probably one of the most memorable lyrics on the album is the beginning of Triumph of Disintegration, where he just starts at the piano and he's like, the last 10 days have been a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, I do like Kevin Barnes' voice as well. I think it's got a quite a unique voice.
It works for the music.
Yeah,
he's able to take what he has and figure out the best way to utilize it. I really like the sound overall. I think Colossus and Raindrop on My Skull are really standouts because of how different they sound and that they sound more personal.
That's actually funny you should mention that, because I read on the Wikipedia page 2 tracks that he had mixed himself.
I think he talked about.
So
I
he
was reading
didn't have like a
somewhere-
record producer on.
Right. I think he was talking somewhere about how something about how trying to figure out, Neil Young, I guess, had some moments where they would start recording songs like those at the end of sessions when everyone was kind of tired and kind of done and kind of playing it zombie. Like I might be confusing this with another song on the album, but kind of that like trying to create a certain effect with your songs and your recording style, I think it really shows here. It's really interesting.
I'd say my
the song I was
standout.
thinking of that had the lyric was actually a Quiet Frosty song. So my bad.
Ah. Yeah, we'll get into that after that.
I have a bit of an
I'm going to say
overlap.
my standout for the album was probably Fugitive Air. That's the opener. I know that's the most popular one on Spotify. I really love how the guitar sounds at the start there.
It was the single too, so that might be part of it too. Music videos for this album are like the most pretentious fucking thing. Or just
I enjoyed it.
a lot going on in them. They weren't really my thing. They were directed by Kevin's wife and somebody else, I forget. So that's at least cool, but
Tricks, you want to put out any standouts or non-standouts?
Nothing stood out really. Like I was just like a good high throughout the entire album. Like I was playing it with my grandfather in the car, and he seemed to like it. He wasn't listening to the lyrics, obviously, but just sonically he enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It is like consistent sonically, it's great, but there is nothing that really stands out. It's an album without a standout track.
I really like Amphibian Days, Colossus, and I think to me the standouts Raindrop of My Skull. It's really different, and Rebecca Cash is the main vocalist. And it's just a really pretty song.
Well, it's like if I showed you Lowe's Double Negative, if you haven't listened to that. I generally enjoy that album quite a lot, and there's a bunch of songs off there in which I could say, yeah, these are my favorites. But there's
I
nothing
can totally
on there
agree.
that just completely stand out. So
I would say that too about the Petite League album. I love dearly, which I'm going to get to that one eventually.
So the only low point for me is Imbecile Rages because it's kind of a rant song and kind of a he's angry, and it doesn't fit the rest of the sound to me. But the first 10 tracks, amazing. If you cut out Imbecile Rages, I don't think it would make a difference. It'd almost be better for it.
any other points that we got on this, or is this kind of an end to Kevin Barnes?
I don't really have any more points if you guys don't.
I got nothing else.
Anything you want to add, Dominic?
I spoke a lot about it. I really enjoy Montreal, especially in high school. So I could probably talk for hours.
Yeah. I think it's a great album. I think I'd probably obviously we do the rankings above in this, but this is probably a spoiler. I probably think it's better than Smash Mouth.
Yeah,
Because I think I had the same enjoyment with both of these albums so far, but I think I kind of just appreciate the Of Montreal's sound a lot more.
yeah. Of Montreal is definitely deeper than Smash.
If you ask me to recommend a song, I would probably actually pick the Smash Mouth album though to pick a song from.
Oh,
Because
yes.
there's more standouts on that. But I think
Yeah.
as an album, it's a lot more consistent. Flows beautiful on it. Because
It
again,
also comes from being able to put out so much music like he does. Like that's something you get over time. That was Smash Mouth's first album, so
Yeah. Comparing in a 12th album to a first.
what number is King Gizzard up to these days?
30-something?
I think Of Montreal's put out more albums than King Gizzard has, but that's only just because Of Montreal's been around for like 10 more years.
I'm
It
going to
started
be
in like
honest, I actually
96.
haven't listened to any King Gizzard.
Nah, King Gizzard will be recommended at some point. Do not worry about that.
I think it's funny
Should
that-
I just?
I think
Should
it's
I
funny
I'm
just-
Sma-
doing the Australian music theme, and do not worry, King Gizzard is important enough to be considered. Unfortunately, it's not going to be next week's though.
I just am
I might
enamored
just
by
start
how
listening on my own.
Smash Mouth started in '94, of Montreal was '96. Like they are pretty much contemporaries.
Yeah.
Of Montreal was 96.
Montreal and
Math,
Smash Mouth are contemporaries.
Okay, of Montreal was up to like 15 years ahead of King Gizzard.
Yeah, King Gizzard is 2010.
Yeah.
They have 15 studio albums and 2 EPs.
We'll say, because Riddlin, I know you are a fan of Neutral Milk, that they did a project together, Kevin Barnes and Jeff Mangum.
Isn't everyone in this chat a fan of Mitchell Milk? Don't you dare say anything, Trix.
I've only listened to it a few times, and I could appreciate what it did for music, but it wasn't my cup of tea personally. If I listened to it a few more times, I would probably find enjoyment, though.
If you were interested, they were in a group together called Major Organ and the Adding Machine. It's a weird album. I don't know if it holds up exactly, but they did work together.
Major Organ.
Adding Machine.
And on that note, shall we move over to the last album?
Yes.
Jungle Giant's Quiet Ferocity. This is the Australian album of the week. This is my number one of 2017, which, as I mentioned last episode, beat albums like King Gizzard's Flying Microtonal Banana, Mount Erie, Brockhampton. I think I had even Brand New, Blue Seacars, some other shit on there on my top 10, but I ended up going with Jungle Giant's Quiet Ferocity. The Australian indie dance outfit's third outing after their pretty successful debut in 2012 with Learn to Exist, which it was not really so much dancing more as it was just straight up alternative, which again, it's that the main problem with that album was that it was just so you've heard everything before. They followed up in 2015 with their sophomore record, Speakerzoid, which that was the kind of evolution of their sound, trying to become a lot more unique. But that again suffered from a lot of consistency issues and just straight up boring content. And then in 2017, they come out with a single which didn't really grab me so much at the start, as much as it has now with the song Feel the Way I Do. Eventually, once I started to get more into that, I finally got around to the album they put out that year, Quiet Ferocity, which kind of just blew me away. It was a perfect evolution. It so far is, you listen to their other two albums, and it's not like they stray far away from the sound. But you've probably heard the sound that they put on those other two albums way before. And this one is the first time Jungle Giants had ever actually put out something that was distinctively Jungle Giants.
Mhm.
And
say
they put
that.
out,
Go on.
they put out a consistent 40-minute record, which went to my 2017 number one of the year. Okay, now how are you going to critique this and ruin my life?
Actually, I really enjoyed it. I just, like I said in Discord, I think Jungle Giant's sound is the sound of the 2010s. Like it is that whole sound encapsulated in one album. Because I was reminded of like Black Keys, Foster the People, kind of that genre vibe. But I really enjoyed their output in this album. It's really, really special.
Plus, you have that synthesized kazoo and Feel the Way I Do.
It's funny, like all four of their first tracks there, On the Way Down, Feel the Way I Do, Bad Dream, Used to Be in Love, they were all singles. And they sound kind of all like singles.
Yes. So the first one, I believe, was Feel the Way I Do. I don't think Used to Be in Love was actually a single.
From what I saw, it was like the last one they put out or something.
I might have put it out way after the album. So
probably
in that year's Hottest 100, actually, all four albums all four songs managed to. I think Used to Be in Love was 59, Bad Dream was 57, On Your Way Down was 50, and Feel the Way I Do was 16.
And I'm listening to that knowing that these are all singles first. And so I'm like, yeah, these all sound like singles. They're really cool. I really dig them. And I'm like, okay, so that's probably like the singles half. You know, it's going to change after that, right? And then Quiet Ferocity hits, and it's a different song, but I really enjoyed it. Like, man, that, like spoken wordy kind of sing-songy
Yeah, with
chorus thing.
Quiet for Us. So there's a song that they
singing.
put on their last record called Every Kind of Way, which is their first kind of a big one in which they did that kind of spoken word type of song. And I love the way that he does it. He usually when you have that kind of spoken word and stuff like that, it can really break a flow, and sometimes it's intentionally, but he always manages to keep it in flow,
Yeah.
which is just it makes it that much more fun as well, especially when he starts singing. He goes in that kind of high pitched "when we get together," and
it's really sublime.
Yeah.
And it's like Time and Time Again is really good. Waiting for Signs really good. And then Blinded is fucking amazing too.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comparison to an album I haven't recognized that I really enjoyed. That was American. I want to say it came out a year before this. It was what was it? Something. It was by Hippocampus. Give me a sec.
I think I've actually heard of this band, so
You've actually heard of them?
I believe I've heard of Hippocampus.
Landmark by Hippocampus.
Yes, actually. Yeah,
it was the
I've heard
same
some
year.
Way It Goes.
Yep, that's their famous one. But the latter half, the whole of this album, like the last half of Landmark by Hippocampus, and that was a really good album from my memory. 'Cause it's been a while since I've listened to it, but I got vibe.
I even appreciate In the Garage, and it's like an instrumental. You know, that I love
A lot of
instrumentals that
people
are
don't
thrown
give
in there.
In the Garage the praise that I think it deserves. It's instrumental. It has those couple like couple phrases that he says in there, which it just kind of uses background. But it's the song that takes its time to really get to its build up, and it has a really nice outro.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Are you saying, Trix?
Kind of gave the vibe of just people jamming in a garage.
Yeah. And I was worried that garage was going to be some kind of different slang thing, but I got the feeling of being in a garage.
Plus, one thing that actually as well that the singer mentioned about the creation of this album, I think it was in an interview with Triple J's Richard Kingsville. He talked about how in the last two albums he was a bit more strict with how all the songwritings and everything went, and I think he admitted to being a bit more in control of everything. Whilst in this album, he kind of just let everybody open up more with the songwriting and everything, and it really shows. There's a lot more chemistry on this album. Everything fits fucking together.
I'm a sucker for funky beats, and this has the funky beats.
Yeah, it has good bass all over it.
Plus, it's one of those ones where I feel like the flow of it, like it, for something that doesn't have all these kind of like interludes between the tracks or anything like that, it flows really well, in my opinion. And
definitely,
there's nothing on here that I would say sounds exactly like another song. It goes through quite a lot of sounds as well in 10 tracks.
Yeah, it's a sonic journey.
Like the only track as well on here that I would probably say has the most generic sound would probably be Used to Be in Love, but it's executed so well that I don't give a fucking shit.
I think Used to Be in Love was a song I'm like, this sounds so familiar. I think I've heard it somewhere, and I don't think I have. You know, it's unique too in this album.
I think the definite highlight though does have to go to Feel the Way I Do. I love that kind of synthesized kazoo on there. It's not a sound that you always hear, but it's so fun to listen to.
I really wonder what would happen if Last Dinosaurs tried out this kind of genre of like electropop.
Who knows? I'm
create
not
something
Lost
like this.
Dinosaurs.
It didn't really remind me of it, but I was kind of just thinking like, what would happen if they tried?
So because we're talking about the album art of Montreal, Jungle Giant's Cry at Ferocity has a desktop wallpaper.
It does.
That is something that if someone out there, please listen to this podcast. If you're good in Photoshop, make a 1920 by 1080 version of this album art. Thank you. That is all.
We have Addicted's album art, and it's very simple, just a few things.
But this is just
four
three
elements.
cubes and a plant.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And you can probably derive some meaning about that with some man-made structures and a nature piece of nature.
Just close the loop on that. Smash Mouth has a car flying through space, giving you the finger with Fushumang written in vaguely Asian lettering, even though it's not Asian, it's just English written funky.
Well, I believe as well, if you look at the initial three singles, because Used to Be in Love was released after the album as a single, and take a look, they're all actually a different piece, like a different corner of a cube. No, it's not of one cube, it's a different cube each, and it's just a photo of it. It's a random corner of it.
Oh, yeah.
So all the single art kind of goes into this album art as well, which is lovely.
Yeah,
and it actually
like
gets
it's closer
the idea.
Up photos of all of it.
It actually gets the idea that they were all meant for the album as well. Instead of it just being, oh, we got a single that's a hit. No, let's make an album out of it.
Looking at the Diarrhea Planet, Last Dinosaurs, Jungle Giant, and Smash Mouth albums that kind of like together on Spotify, and there's a real big pink vibe going through them.
Pink is the greatest color.
White, and then Smash Mouth is just there with a bunch of shit going on, and then Diarrhea Planet has the stabbing with the hand and the knife. It's tied together very well, even though they're very different.
Yeah. All of the albums we chose have very different. I'll say that.
I think my highlights
just tanked because I'm currently uploading all 4 photos of the.
My favorite track is probably Blinded, but I think it's almost impossible to choose a good or a bad one. It's a very solid album all the way through. But just for formality, I think Blinded is the best. People always say is the worst, but like I said, there's almost no quality shift at all. It's all amazing.
Bad Dream is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I see a lot of people back in 2017 just praise the shit out of Bad Dream, and I think that probably does have the best production of the album. Because you have this whole thing that is completely funky, and Bad Dream is probably the least funkiest tune off the whole album.
Yeah. A low point for me was actually Quiet Ferocity.
Really?
Like, it was a good song, but I didn't jive well with it. The bass line got me into it, and the guy's voice kind of took me away from it a little bit. Just the harshness on its own.
Remind me of there's a Death Cab song. What's it called? Like Brixby Canyon or something? It's like 8 minutes long.
No, I know exactly which one you're talking about. I Will Possess Your Heart.
It has that driving bass, and it reminded me of that a lot. And I also enjoy that song.
5-minute intro, and then he just comes in, and like it all kind of just dies down, and he starts singing. And I like the song, but I think the intro is what makes it.
Definitely.
That is another band
I think this comes in seeming as like I do top 100s and stuff like every year since 2017 and albums and stuff like that. So when it comes to picking a favorite, my number 2 of the year, and it's never going to stop being my number 2 in 2017, just only because the song that was number one, I still think is better as well. But I love the shit out of it, and I still love the shit out of it. Is Feel the Way I Do.
Number one.
Methyl Ethel's Ubu, which is 3 minutes of the guy from Methyl Ethel just going, "Why'd you have to cut your hair?" But it's a weird track, but it's even funkier than anything else you've heard on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Feel the Way I Do is a definite highlight. Followed by Used to Be in Love and On Your Way Down. I love tracks like again, I do love everything. I do like tracks like Bad Dream and Time Again are probably terrible ones, but Feel the Way I Do, definite highlight. I would probably actually say that my least favorite is probably Blinded. Either that or Waiting for a Sign. Yeah, it's either that or Waiting for a Sign. I feel like those two songs don't grab me as much. It's not to say that I don't like them. I like them as much as every other song on this, to a point. It's just that every other song, for me, has that more just grabbability is the word I'm going to use, even if it's not actually a word. So I'll probably say Blinded is my least favorite, but I don't really want to hate Blinded. And Feel the Way I Do, definitely my favorite.
Overall, a good album. Again, this one's going in my rotation. I almost bought this one on vinyl, but I didn't want to pay $50 for one record to be shipped to my door.
Yeah, I do recommend this album as an actual buy. It again, it's amazing. I don't have it on vinyl. I should probably look for it on vinyl because I still listen to this.
It's $37 free shipping on Amazon.
Yeah, it's in America. Remember, this is an Australian album, so it's actually like readily available at like JB Hi-Fi's for like $30. No shipping.
I bought Fush You Mang on CD this week, so I should buy this as well because I like this and more than that.
Yeah, I'm probably Fush You Mang is something that you'll find at thrift shops. That's the only thing.
I should seek out a vinyl copy of that.
I'm gonna own all three of these albums. I like them all.
You can I don't know if JB Hi-Fi does American shipping, but if they do, search up on there because they definitely have this album in ready stock, and I think it's like $20 Australian.
It's probably gonna make it like 50 still.
Well, $20 Australian is not higher. How much
would it cost me to PayPal you money to ship it to me?
I think that's something that we should just discuss after the podcast is done.
Fair.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we do the rankings of these albums?
Sure. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, I've already kind of spoiled it anyway. It's Fush You Mang at number 3. I don't want to discredit it. I feel like that's one of those ones that I'd put above. I'd put the Smash Mouth above Devin Townsend. I don't think there's much else that I'd put it above in my whole thing. But yeah, number 3, Smash Mouth. Number 2, Of Montreal, and number 1. There was no way. Again, there was no way it was going to change. Jungle Giants, baby.
Is also my ranking. 1 Jungle Giants, 2 Of Montreal, and 3 Smash Mouth, but it is very close together. It is a very small ranking.
For me, I'm going to swap Jungle Giants and Of Montreal. I liked Of Montreal just a little bit better. They were all 3 were great, and I would put Smash Mouth above. Yeah, Devin Townsend, maybe Tism.
Yeah, whilst I think that's fair, I still say the only reason that you didn't enjoy the Tism was because of all the Australian context. Thank you. You're
probably right. I basically chose an American version of Tism.
You're both racist. Thank you.
I didn't say it. I said Tism was number 2 that week.
I can't remember what everyone said. Anyway.
Yeah, I think everybody rated Hot Flash Heatwave except for the lowest.
Yeah, it wasn't that hot. Like, if you compared Hot Flash Heatwave and Devin Townsend for me, I'd put Hot Flash above it because I just enjoyed it a lot more, and I just could not like the Devin Townsend.
Yeah, some
Sorry,
of the Devon
Dominic, we're
Towns
just
wasn't
bullying
sure to
you.
get.
I told my friend who got me to Devin Townsend about this podcast. I was excited for him to listen to it. I don't know if he's gonna enjoy it now.
Because it's just us
Sorry,
ripping into
Alex,
it.
if you're listening to this.
Sorry, Alex.
Sorry.
Love.
So this is the time now when we talk about our next picks.
I'm gonna go last, boys. You two.
Fine. I really wanted you to
Okay.
go first because I wanted to see if my what I think you're doing is right.
I'll go first.
No. I'm going last.
I will go first. My album is Momentary Lapse of Happily by Adult Mom.
This is actually one that I have heard of. I've actually heard a couple of this, but I have not listened to the full album. So
I've never heard of it, so I'm excited.
she has a song called Full Screen, which the opening lyric is do you full screen your porn? It's not off the album.
Yeah, it is. It's off of.
I don't think it's off of something else, isn't it?
It's off. Full Screen is off of Soft Spots.
Yeah.
Right.
I think this one has Be Your Own 3 AM and Survival,
Yes.
which I am both actually acquainted with. That's like I know this song properly, so I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, it's a great album. I bought this one on vinyl and it still hasn't shipped, and it said it would ship at June 10th.
Means it must be
We'll go
doing
over there
well.
and find them. Dominic, what are you choosing?
Right, so I talked about this a bit in Discord, but I'm gonna do an EP mashup of sorts. I'm gonna pick two different artists. There's only a handful of songs for both of them, so it's gonna be about the same length of an album. And so my first artist I'm thinking for this is Troye Sivan, his EP Trixie, Trxye.
So you're now picking an Australian.
Yes.
Then
my other selection is Aiden Alexander, who just has a handful of singles out on Spotify right now. He hasn't put out an EP or album yet, but I guess he will at some point. And I really want to compare these two because they kind of popped up within a few years of each other, but there's kind of a generational difference, I feel like, where one clearly influences the other. And they're both similar in that they've had YouTube careers. They're both popular on social media. They've had acting careers. And so it's interesting to see how times and how music can change just within a few years, kind of birthing a new generation of musicians and how one inspires another and all that. I think it'd be really fun to do that.
So I'm now going to ask the question. Did you think I was going to say Troye Sivan?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I know. I don't actually listen to Troye Sivan, so.
Like
I know a lot of the people I know of a lot of the people he collaborates with, like All Day. I think he's done a bit with like Decay Master and stuff like that as well. So I should.
If you pick Blue Neighborhood, I'd be so fucking amazed.
No. But I am gonna go with somebody that you both will recognize. So here we go. First off, you're gonna be listening to some accordion, so get ready for that.
Right?
Oh god.
Secondly, of 8 years ago, this man put out a song which didn't actually just take Australia by storm. It took fucking everything by storm. I don't think there was a single place in the world that you could go at this time and not hear this song. Especially when you would have 2011.
2011.
You had such great moments as people playing a cover of this song, a five-piece band on one guitar. I think I've seen a Muppets parody of this song. I'm going to let you two take a guess at what the song is.
No idea.
I feel like I know this.
Come on, say it, Trix.
Oh god, it's escaping me.
Think of Saxman on Eurovision. That's not it.
Nah. I guess it's just some
Just search
song
up
that you
5 people,
used to
1
know.
guitar.
Gautier?
Oh god,
I am doing Gautier, but I am not doing Gautier's 2011 album Making Mirrors. I am going back to clock to when he was only popular in Australia.
The Hearts a Mess album?
Yep, going down to 2006's absolutely brilliant, like Drawing Blood.
It's also a fucking great album. I know Gautier, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
actually.
A lot of people go at Gautier for somebody that I used to know. And I hear a lot of people go outside and say that he's only this one-hit wonder. He's only had this one song. And every time I hear that, I think, absolutely, fuck you. There was so much great shit I can just name off of, like, Drawing Blood. It's this brilliant collection of just samples, some really emotional, haunting songs. And I was going to suggest it last week, but when we had that whole kind of structure of having to listen to 70 more albums, this is an album that truly needs to be listened to by itself.
All right.
And I'm hoping that for people who are not really into Gautier, that you
Is it just
understand.
Gatia? Is that it?
Gautier, whatever you want to fucking pronounce it as.
Or fucking realize that until now.
Gochi.
I say Gautier.
Got E.
He's Belgian, / Australian. I don't know which one is supposed to pronounce it like.
How to.
I think it's supposed to be like Gautier.
Gautier.
Gautier. Whatever.
3 syllables.
So yeah, 2006's Like Drawing Blood.
It's because I need to
Alright.
clarify because he doesn't have an EP. Aiden Alexander's songs are I Don't Love You, Yours, Melancholia, and Guts.
You might want
So
to
if you're following along, that's the song you're looking for.
None of us have actually posted this onto the Discord, by the way. So like, you might want to do that so we don't forget.
After this is over.
Yeah, I will. I found it on.
I am excited to listen to Gautier because I love Gautier.
Oh,
I haven't actually listened to any of them besides somebody I used to know.
You're about
was
to get
actually
a whole new opinion on him.
It was actually a really good song
cool
from
album.
what I remember.
Oh no, it's again, a lot of people don't like it because it was like really overplayed. But it is a great song. I don't even think it's the best of his album, though, of Making Mirrors. I think that probably goes to Eyes Wide Open.
Like Eyes Wide Open, I like State of the Art. I love Bronte. Cool.
Anyways,
I think we're gonna have a good week next week.
should be good. I think it's a bit more recognizable of a week as well. Seeming as I recognize Adultmon, I recognize Troye Sivan. I'm not going to be absolutely bamboozled. Although I did recognize Old Montreal. It's still quite a new experience for me, though.
Mhm.
Is that a podcast?
I think that's our podcast, boys. I am Ritalin. You can catch me at one site only, and that's ritalinforkids.github.io. I don't even talk on that. There's no email. I have no opinions. Why are you still listening to me? Why are these people still letting me talk? I also have a YouTube. There's nothing that gets posted on there. Just subscribe to Minimme instead. Thank you.
So Dominic.
MINIMME. Where can people
There's
find
your
you?
plug, Pete.
He owes me
I've been
$20
Tricks.
every time.
I've been Tricks. You can catch me pretty much only at Twitter at procrastinaut_. Procrastinating astronaut. My photos of Skeletor. Shoot me a DM. My DMs are open.
And you can catch me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. That is my first initials and my unpronounceable last name. And you can also find me if you want to see more of my opinions on tiltingwindmillstudios.com. I do video game stuff and anime stuff and post reviews and opinions. So that's fun.
Yeah, if you want to
And,
listen to someone's opinion outside of this podcast, then God help you. Thank you.
You know,
Yes.
live your life the way you want to live it.
A hearty thank you to Craig for recording this for us.
On
Craig.
Craig.
Bye, Craig.
And we will catch you next time.
Yes. Okay, I gotta get
Get Craig out of here.
Once Craig leaves, you can leave.